What if the very thing that makes you exceptional is also what makes you suffer? After our video on the psychology of high IQ people, hundreds of you asked the same question in the comments. If intelligence is such a gift, why do I feel so alone? Why does understanding more make me feel worse, not better? Why does my mind never let me rest? And honestly, those questions stopped me because we talk a lot about the advantages of a sharp mind, the problem solving, the pattern recognition, the depth of thought. But today, we're going into the side nobody talks about, the darkness behind the brilliance. Because if you've ever felt like your intelligence was less of a superpower and more of a burden you didn't ask for, this video was made for you. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you won't just understand why this happens, you'll know exactly what to do about it. Welcome to Turn Wiser. Let's go deeper. Let's start with a question that sounds almost offensive to ask out loud. Can being too smart make your life harder? The science says yes. Absolutely yes. And here's why. For the average person, a decision is simple. Should I take this job? Yes or no. Should I trust this person? Yes or no. But for a high IQ mind, there is no simple answer. Your brain immediately runs through every possible outcome, every risk, every variable, every version of how this could go wrong. Psychologists call this paralysis by analysis, and it's almost exclusively a problem of intelligent minds. You don't just think about the decision. You think about thinking about the decision, and while everyone else has already moved on with their lives, you're still in your head, running simulations. This is exhausting. Not laziness, not weakness. It is the price of a mind that refuses to accept shallow answers. The pain of being misunderstood. Here at Turn Wiser, we say this often. Thinking differently from the average person is a one-way ticket to loneliness. And this isn't poetic. It's neurological. When your brain operates at a higher level of abstraction, when you naturally see systems, patterns, and consequences that others don't, conversation starts to feel thin. You're talking about why the world works the way it does. Everyone else is talking about what happened on the weekend. You're not better than them. You're not arrogant. You're just operating on a different frequency. And the tragedy is, you can feel that gap. Every single day, studies on gifted individuals consistently show that social isolation is not a choice. It's a consequence. The deeper you're thinking, the fewer people can genuinely follow you there. And loneliness that comes from being too seen in your own mind and too unseen by the world is one of the most painful forms of loneliness that exists. The curse of high standards. Intelligent people don't just hold the world to high standards. They hold themselves to standards that are almost impossible to meet. Every mistake feels like evidence of failure. Every average outcome feels like a betrayal of potential. Every moment of rest is shadowed by the feeling that you should be doing more. This isn't perfectionism in the casual sense. This is a deep, relentless internal pressure. The feeling that settling for good enough is the same as giving up entirely. And here's the cruel irony. The smarter you are, the more clearly you can see the gap between where you are and where you could be. That gap never feels small. It feels infinite. And crossing it, no matter how much you achieve, never quite feels like enough. Existential depression, the loneliest kind of pain. Now we get to the deepest level. Beyond overthinking, beyond loneliness, beyond perfectionism. There is something that psychologist Dr. James Webb first identified in gifted individuals, something he called existential depression. And it's unlike any other form of depression. It doesn't come from trauma. It doesn't come from failure. It comes from understanding too much. When your mind is powerful enough to grasp the full weight of existence, the randomness of life, the inevitability of death, the suffering that exists in the world that no one seems to be fixing, something happens. The questions start coming. Why are we here? Does any of this actually matter? If everything ends, what's the point of building anything? And these aren't teenage questions. These are serious, philosophical confrontations with reality, and intelligent minds can't just not have them. The average person can distract themselves, stay busy, stay shallow, but a sharp mind keeps returning to these questions because it cannot accept an answer it hasn't earned through real understanding. And when the answers don't come, that emptiness is devastating. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust and wrote Man's Search for Meaning, said that the deepest human suffering comes not from pain itself, but from meaninglessness. The intelligent person's tragedy is that they are capable of feeling that meaninglessness more acutely than anyone else. They see the chaos of the world with high resolution, and high-resolution suffering is still suffering. Master your mind, turning the burden into power. So, we've sat in the darkness long enough. Now let's talk about the way through. Because intelligence is not a sentence. It is a tool. And like any powerful tool, the question is never whether you have it. The question is, do you know how to use it? Here at Turn Wiser, we call this mastering your mind. And it comes down to 3 fundamental shifts. Turn analysis into action. Your mind is extraordinary at seeing problems. But seeing a problem and solving a problem are 2 completely different things. Overthinking is analysis without movement. And the cure for it is not to think less, it's to act more. Every time your mind spirals into endless scenarios, interrupt it with one question. What is the one small thing I can do about this right now? Not the perfect thing, not the complete solution, just the next move. Motion is the antidote to the paralyzed mind. Action is how intelligence transforms from a prison into a path. Develop your emotional intelligence. Logic is the sword, but emotion is the hand that holds it. Highly intelligent people often develop their analytical mind at the expense of their emotional world, because emotion feels messy, irrational, inefficient. But here's the truth. A life lived entirely in the mind is a life without color. Emotional intelligence, the ability to understand, feel, and navigate your inner world, is not the opposite of high IQ. It is its completion. When you learn to feel without being overwhelmed by feeling, when you can sit with uncertainty without needing to immediately analyze it away, you become something rare. A person who is both deeply intelligent and deeply alive. Find your people. You may be one of the rarest personality types in the world. That means your people are few, but they exist. The loneliness of high intelligence is not permanent, it's geographical. You are in the wrong room. Seek out the conversations that challenge you. The communities built around depth, not noise. The relationships where you don't have to translate yourself just to be understood. You don't need many people. You need the right people. And when you find even one person who speaks your frequency, the isolation starts to lift. Closing, the wiser choice. Intelligence is not a punishment, but it is a responsibility. The mind that sees more owes more. To itself, to the world. And the greatest waste of a brilliant mind is not failure. It is a brilliant mind that turns inward and devours itself. So here is your choice. You can let your intelligence be the thing that isolates you, paralyzes you, and whispers that nothing will ever be enough. Or you can master it. You can take every overthought, every sleepless question, every standard you hold yourself to, and channel it into creation, into depth, into a life that most people will never have the courage or the clarity to build. The dark side of high IQ is real, but so is the light on the other side of it. And that light, it only comes to those who are willing to go through the darkness, not around it. This is Turn Wiser. And this is what it means to think deeper, live wiser. End screen. Calm music. Logo fade in. Did this video speak to you? Tell us in the comments. Does your intelligence ever feel like a burden? Subscribe to Turn Wiser and take the next step toward mastering your mind.